Hello and welcome to another edition of the webinar series Star Struck. I'm your host Nitin Mathur and I look after retail customer propositions at HSBC India. Today we have truly gone beyond boundaries to bring you our guest. He was the first male player from the United Kingdom since Roger Taylor in the 1970s to reach the semi-finals of the Wimbledon Men's Singles Championship and is one of Britain's most successful male tennis players of the Open era. He was ranked Britain's number one player for close to a decade and reached 6 Grand Slam semi-finals, including 4 appearances on home turf Wimbledon. In the course of his tennis career, he has won a silver medal in men's doubles at the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta, where Leander Paes, for those of you who remember, won bronze in men's singles. Tim also won 11 ATP singles titles and played Davis Cup from the age of 19. He retired from professional tennis in 2007. Please welcome Tim Henman.
Thank you very much.
Before I start my conversation with Tim, I want to remind our viewers that we have a question tab at the bottom of your screens for you to post your questions. Once we have a few questions from you, I shall ask the questions to Tim on your behalf. We also have a chat box for all our viewers to show their love for Tim and for HSBC. Hi, Tim, and thank you for being with us today. It's absolutely an honor to have you on our show as an avid fan and player. This is an experience I will definitely cherish and share with my tennis buddies the next time I'm on court. By the way, I'm also wearing my favorite tennis sweatshirt for the occasion. I hope you can see it.
I can. Very good. You're looking good.
Thank you so much. So let's dive right into the questions. You come from a long line of tennis players in your family, starting with your great-grandparents. Your maternal grandmother was the first woman to serve overarm at Wimbledon, and your mother introduced you and your brother to tennis as soon as you could start walking. What was it like growing up with such legacy around you?
Yes, it's an interesting question, and it's one that I get asked a lot about my family history in tennis, and it goes back to my great-grandmother, who you mentioned, who played in about early 1900s. And she was the first lady to serve overarm at Wimbledon. And then my grandmother and my grandfather played, and my grandmother was the last lady to serve underarm at Wimbledon. And so it's an amazing history that I was able to follow. But if I'm honest, I wasn't really aware of it when I was very young. I had 2 older brothers. My parents loved sport, and we lived in a village where we had a garden, and we used to come home from school, and my brothers were 4 or 5 years older than me, and we would put our bags down and we would just play sport. And we would play rugby, football, cricket, hockey, squash, as well as tennis. So growing up for me was all about sport. But from a very young age, I probably started playing tennis when I was about 2.5 or 3. And by the age of 4 or 5, although I was playing all these other sports, I knew tennis was my favorite.
Wow. So as a child growing up, aspiring to play pro tennis, you must have had stories of watching your favorite tournaments. Do you remember the first game you ever watched live? Share that experience with us.
Absolutely. For me, it was a very, very, very important moment, and I remember it so clearly. It was the first Monday of Wimbledon in 1981, and I was 6 years old, and that was the first time that my mum took me to Wimbledon, and we were lucky enough to have 2 tickets on centre court, and I watched Bjorn Borg, who was the defending champion. He had won the previous 5 years. And I remember exactly where we were sitting, and I remember when Borg walked onto the court, and I saw him, and I saw the green grass, and the centre court was looking immaculate, and the royal box and the crowd was full. And that was, if I'm honest, that was where I made my one and only career decision. I knew from that day forward that I wanted to follow in his footsteps and play at Wimbledon and play on centre court. And I didn't know whether it was going to be possible, but that was really where my dream was sort of first imagined.
Wow, what a champion he was. And What I wouldn't give to get hands on those tickets at center court.
Yeah.
So since you've turned to commentating, you're watching a lot of games. What has been your most memorable game to witness as a commentator and as a viewer?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's another very good question because I retired from tennis in September 2007. We played our last Davis Cup. My last Davis Cup match was at Wimbledon. We played on grass. We were playing in the World Group qualifying against Croatia, and we won that weekend 3-love. I won my singles on the Friday, and then on the Saturday I played with Jamie Murray, and we won the doubles. I hit a winning forehand on match point to finish my career, and it was absolutely perfect. And then the next year, 2008, the BBC, who obviously do the coverage at Wimbledon, they asked me to be a part of their team, and I was delighted to be a part of that. And I was lucky enough to then commentate on the final, and that was my first final commentating. And in 2008, everyone will remember that was Federer against Nadal, when
Absolutely.
Nadal was trying to win for the first time, and he was 2-love up. There was rain delays. Federer came back. He won the third set 7-6. He won the fourth set 7-6, and then it was getting very late. It was almost getting dark, and Nadal won 9-7 in the fifth. And for me, that was the best match I've ever seen in the most important match in tennis, the Wimbledon final between two of our greatest champions. So for me to be a very small part of it commentating, but it was such a special match, and one that I'll never forget.
I think that's one match that a lot of us keen sort of tennis players often talk about as well. It was epic. It was absolutely epic between two champions, one on 20 slam titles and the other on 19, right? So it's obviously fantastic. Wow.
It's been an amazing rivalry because they have amazing friendship and respect, but when they're on the court, they are completely opposite. One is right-handed with the one-handed backhand who's looking to be attacking and come to the net, and obviously Nadal is left-handed with the two-handed backhand, and so that rivalry, I think, has been one of the best and most important in our sport.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me now move to you. What is the most memorable game you have played in your career? Any special moments from that game that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite difficult just to name one, because I played so many, and my Wimbledon career playing at home in for me the most important tournament in the world. But one that definitely stands out was, a continuation of the story when I first went to Wimbledon as a 6-year-old. So the first time I had the opportunity to play on centre court was in 1996. In the first round, I was drawn against Yevgeny Kafelnikov, who was, I think he was number 3 seed at the time. He had just won the singles and the doubles at the French Open. That was the last time a male player, had won the singles and doubles in a Grand Slam at the same time. And, when I saw the draw, I knew that I was going to be on centre court. And so that was such an exciting opportunity. And a funny story around that was the draw, I think, was made on the Thursday before the tournament, and we didn't play until the Tuesday. So with my coach at that time, on the Friday, the Saturday, the Sunday, before the tournament started, we went and sat just in the stands on centre court for about 20 minutes each day, just so I could really, soak up the atmosphere and the surroundings, so that when I walked on the court, I'd done all my looking around to have a look at the stadium, so that when I was on the court, I could just focus on the match. And when I walked out and we had in those days, it was a 5-minute warm-up, I didn't feel nervous at all. I felt so comfortable. I felt so ready. I broke serve in the first game, and that had a huge impact on that match and my career, because I went on to win 7-5 in the fifth and saved 2 match points, and it was definitely a match I'll never forget.
Wow, and especially saving those 2 match points. You need to have nerves of steel to do that.
You need some luck as well. I was serving. I was down 3-5 in the fifth, 15-40, and I hit two aces. So that was a good way to save them. And then I broke serve to get back at 5-all, and then it turned around very quickly. So it was definitely one of the best matches of my career.
I can imagine. So let me be very honest. When I learned about this interview with you a couple of days back, the first thing that I recalled was your appearance at Wimbledon in '95, and you remember it didn't very end very well for you. Novak suffered a similar fate in the US Open over the weekend when he inadvertently hit the lineswoman with the tennis ball. What were your first thoughts after learning about that episode?
Well, I've been working doing the television in the UK for Prime Video, Amazon, and I was in the studio watching, and we obviously had a team commentating, but I was in the studio for analysis after the match, and I was sitting watching, and as soon as Novak hit the ball away in frustration, and let me be clear, it was a complete accident. There's no intent on his behalf, but as soon as he hit the ball away and he hit the line judge, I knew he was going to be disqualified, because you have to be responsible for your actions on the tennis court. And for me in 1995, it was very similar. It was I was playing doubles late in the day. It was our first round match. I was playing with Jeremy Bates. And again, we were 2-1 up. We were in the tiebreak in the fourth set. We were very close to winning. So I wasn't angry or, losing the match. We were in a very good position. Our opponent hit a very lucky shot, and it was their serve in the tiebreak. And I just turned away because it was now their serve at the other end of the court. And as I hit the ball down the other end of the court, the ball girl was the other side of the net, and she lifted up to run across, and I hit her on the side of the head. And it's an accident, but the only thing for the referee to do is a disqualification, because you have to be responsible. And so, the Novak situation is very sad, because he's been playing so well. He was the clear favorite for the tournament, but the referee and the supervisor had no option whatsoever.
Yeah. But on the other side, I guess it's after 6 years that the big three are not in a Grand Slam tournament. So it also opens up, the field for someone new to come in and stake a claim at the top.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's a lot of people that are speculating. What is the game going to be like when eventually Federer, Nadal, Djokovic, even Murray are not playing the game, and this is a sort of a fast forward opportunity to see how certainly the men's game looks, and this has been a great opportunity. And when I see, I'm commentating tonight, and we have Carreño Busta against Zverev, and then Medvedev against Thiem. I think they're very interesting matchups, and for me, just to reflect on those, the winner of Medvedev and Thiem, I think will go on to win the title. They've been playing great tennis, and for me, the person that comes through that match will go on to win the tournament.
Yeah, and I was actually watching an interview with Sampras and yourself a couple of days back, and I think Sampras rates Thiem quite highly as well in the overall pecking order. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, he's the one that's already been in 3 Grand Slam finals. He lost to Nadal in 2 French Open finals. At the beginning of the year, he played an amazing match against Djokovic in the Australian Open when he lost 6-4 in the 5th set. So he was knocking on the door, and now he's banging on the door. So I think I think if I had to pick one, it would be Dominic Thiem.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. So this is a question that I'm sure a lot of Indians would want to know. What's the fundamental difference between singles and doubles tennis? Is it about the mental makeup? Is it about the physical strength of the individual? The question is, particularly intriguing for us because we've had virtually no success in singles, but in doubles, we've got 4 Grand Slam winners, and between them, we have over 30 Grand Slam titles, but we failed to do anything or make an impression on singles tennis. So what do you think is that difference between singles and doubles tennis?
Yeah, I think the simple answer is the physicality in singles, and the game certainly in the last 20 years has changed significantly, where players are bigger, stronger, faster, hit the ball harder, whereas doubles is much more about serving and volleying. It's much more about the net game. There's not so much court to cover because there's two of you on each side of the net, and so it's a very different skill set. And when I reflect back to Leander Paes and Mahesh Bhupathi, they're very similar age to me. I think Leander is a year older than me. Mahesh is the same age, so I grew up playing with them in the juniors. And again, when you go back a little bit before my time, Ramesh Krishnan, and then also Vijay Amritraj, Anand Amritraj, I look at those players and they're very skillful. They have amazing touch. They have all volley exceptionally well. I think where they haven't, well, Mahesh and Leander weren't so successful in the singles game because they didn't necessarily have the speed. I mean, Leander was fast, but he didn't have the power on his shots, and so the skill set in doubles is different, and I think that suited their game. But I see similarities between Indian tennis and British tennis, because in the UK we have football is the religion. So the vast majority of the talented young people, they play football, and so the numbers that you get left with the necessary talent, athletic ability to play tennis is much less. And when I've been to India many, many times, and I see the cricket and how that is a religion in India, and so there are less of your talented athletes to play tennis, and so that is definitely a challenge to try and get in the UK to get more of our talented youngsters to play tennis, and likewise in India to get more of them to play tennis and not cricket.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Though that is changing. I think there are other sports that are coming in now. Cricket is not the only one. It still continues to be a religion for us, but I think other sports are seeing their share of the limelight now.
Yeah.
A very topical question. In the current environment of a new normal, so to speak, sports are being played without a live audience. What do you feel about this? Do you think this affects the players and their motivation levels, their prep in any way?
No, I think it's been difficult. There's no doubt that when we've been commentating for the US Open, and you see these amazing rallies in both the men's and the women's events, and you're waiting for the roar of the crowd, and it doesn't happen. It definitely is taking a little bit of time to get used to, and I think certainly in the early stages of the match, sometimes the players can be a little bit flat. They don't have the adrenaline, and that takes a little bit of time to adjust to. But I think, and I've heard a lot of them speak to say they're so grateful to have the opportunity to be back competing, and also earning a living, because they're all self-employed. They employ other people, so the tennis community has been hit hard, because it's not just the players, it's the coaches, the physios, the physical trainers. Then there's, outside of that, there's the umpires, the line judges. It's a big community, it's a big family, and like virtually every area, it's been hit very hard by COVID. So to get them back out competing has been great to see, and hopefully we're going to slowly work our way back onto the tour, and everyone can stay safe and healthy, and get our lives back to as near normal as possible.
Yeah, agree. We all, I think, hope that happens very quickly. So we're getting a lot of questions from the audience, and let me just try and get into the first set of questions. Okay, so this question comes to us from Dinesh Negi. What advice do you give budding players to strengthen their mental thought process and to circumvent pressure?
It's a very good question, and for me, the psychology of the game is very important, and it's very important if you can learn how to deal with it mentally at a young age, because there's a cliche that we've all heard, and it's practice makes perfect, and that's not true. And what I'll tell you is true is practice makes permanent. And so what I mean by that is if you practice very good habits, they will become permanent. And that's a very good thing. They'll become second nature. But if you practice bad habits, if your attitude is poor on the court, if you keep doing the same thing, you keep throwing your racket, or your technique is very poor on a shot and you keep doing the same thing, that will become permanent. So again, with the psychology, the most basic form of psychology, certainly in sport and in life, is you have to stay in the present tense. So in sport, in tennis, you just want to concentrate on the next point. So if you've hit a very bad shot, if you've served a double fault the point before, you can't change it. So don't worry about it. Let's focus on the next point. And again, in simple terms, if you can try 100%, if you can try your very best on that point, that's great. And then once you've played that next point, you play the next point, 100% of your energy, of your focus. And the more you do that, the more you'll understand that it's really about focusing on the process and not the outcome. So the outcome will take care of itself. So the goal when you go on the court to play a tennis match is you're thinking, well, I really want to win this match, so I need to win 2 sets. So if you're going to win 2 sets, you're going to have to win 6 games, probably in each set. So to win each game, you have to win 4 points normally. So you break it down, and then you understand that the process is back to my original point. You focus on the next point. And if you keep doing that and you keep working hard, the outcome will take care of itself. So again, focus on the next point, try your best, and it's process, not outcome.
I absolutely couldn't agree with you more. In fact, I am at the moment reading this book called Atomic Habits. I don't know if you've heard of that one by James Clear. And this is exactly what he talks about. It's all about good and bad habits. And what I've been doing for the tennis player that I am with limited ability, I've been doing these rotator cuffs because, you know, in Mumbai, we are seeing the monsoons right now. So there's no action virtually on the court. But I've been doing these rotator cuff exercises, you know, every day. And I've tried to sort of stack that habit, you know, before my glass of milk every day. And it sort of helps. Hopefully the next time I'm on court a little stronger, it will impact the serve or, you know, the strength with which I hit my shots, hopefully.
Definitely. And again, I mean, another question that is I think, is partly sort of psychology, but again, how do you quantify success? So in sport, it's very easy to quantify success as just winning and losing. So if you win, that must be successful. And again, if you lose, you must be a failure. But that's not true at all. And that's why you have to go back to the process. And for me in tennis, you have to break it down to all the different elements. So there's the technical work that's on court, that's practicing your shots, your serves, your volleys, your ground strokes. So we need to practice that. So physically, we need to be in the gym. We need to be doing our track work. We need to be doing our weights. We need to be stretching. We need to be stronger, faster, fitter. So we need to focus on that. So then we need to look at the mentality. And are we, you know, good, focusing on the game, the shot, the points each time? We need to work at that in practice so it's easier in matches. We need to look at nutrition. We need to look at our diet. Are we eating the right things? Are we hydrating enough? Are we recovering? Are we stretching? Are we doing our core stability? So when you look at all these things, if you're giving 100% in every area, the outcome will be that you maximize your potential, and therefore you will be successful. And again, that is ticking all the boxes with regards to the process. And if you do that, the outcome will take care of itself.
Wow, very well put. So the next question from the audience: when you played and beat Federer in the quarterfinals of Wimbledon in 2001, did you ever think he would go on to become the player that he has?
I was hoping someone was going to bring that match up. No, I didn't. In 2001, we played in the quarterfinals. In the round before, he had just beaten Sampras, who was, the king of Wimbledon. So for me, I felt like it was a good opportunity. I'd beaten Federer a few times before that. We played a very close match, and I won. But if you'd have said to me after that match, how good do you think he could be? I think I would have said, I think he can win, a Grand Slam. Could he win a few Grand Slams? Yeah, maybe. But, he still needed to improve in different areas. And, sometimes mentally he could be a little bit up and down. But if you'd have said to me, at that stage in 19 years' time, he's going to have won 20 Grand Slams and been world number one for 310 weeks, I would have said, wow, I'm not sure I believe you. But it's been amazing. It's been amazing to watch.
Yeah. So let me take one more question before we move to the next segment. This question is from Raja Ram. Who do you think is the best orthodox player in men's and women's tennis currently?
Again, it comes down to when you're trying to judge. I think it comes down to the Grand Slam titles, and that's Federer at the moment with 20. Nadal is very close behind, 19. Djokovic 17. So it's amazing what they have done, because when I was playing with Sampras in his era and he got to 14, I would have said there's no way anyone is going to overtake 14 Grand Slams in the next 20 to 30 years. And then all of a sudden we sit here today and there are 3 that have gone past him. So right now, Federer, I think, is the best player, but that could change. I think it will change. On the women's side, I think it's been amazing to watch what Serena Williams has done. She's at 23 Grand Slams, and the way she's played, coming back, being a mother, and I think it's such an inspirational story. At the US Open this year, we saw some amazing stories from the mothers, and Azarenka beating Serena last night to be in the final as another mother. I think it is an amazing story for our sport. So to answer your question, I would say right now, Federer and Serena Williams are the greatest male and female players.
Yep. But Novak has age on his side, so wouldn't be surprised if he crosses that 20 mark very soon.
If you were going to ask me who I think will end up with the most Grand Slams, I think it will be Novak. Yeah. Because he has another probably 5 years at the top, so it's a lot of opportunities.
Absolutely. Okay, so Tim, we will now move into the next segment, and this time away from tennis. I read an article once about how much you loved traveling, and there were some great stories in there. Now, with all of us stuck at home, I'm sure you must miss it. Tell us about your last holiday.
My last holiday, we were very lucky, and it was about a month ago, and we went to Croatia, and it was a holiday. We have very good friends of ours. We have 3 daughters. Very good friends of ours have 3 daughters the same age, and we had booked at the end of last year to go on a boat around Croatia. And obviously the world has changed massively in those last 8 months. But the early part of August, we were able to go. We were able to travel to Croatia without any quarantine. We had 7 days going around the different islands. There are 1,147 islands off the coast of Croatia, and we were sailing around for 1 week. And then we came back, and it was at a time where there was no quarantine. So we were very lucky to get away. We had great weather, and we had such a great time. So we felt very fortunate to be able to get away.
Are you a Game of Thrones fan? Did you go and see some of those sites as well?
We did see one of them. I'm not a Game of Thrones fan,
Okay.
but I don't watch it. But we did see where they were pointed out some of the destinations.
Nice. So we also read that you're quite the food and wine enthusiast. In these times of staying in, people seem to be honing their cooking skills. Are you also doing a lot of cooking adventures with the family? Any fun stories to share with us?
I wouldn't say, well, it's a variation. I wouldn't say I cook in the kitchen too much, but I love doing a barbecue. So when we were in lockdown at the beginning of sort of March, April time, we had about 8 or 9 weeks where the weather was amazing, as good as it's been in the UK for a long time. And so we live out of the city, so we have a little bit of space. And so for me, I did a lot of barbecuing. So a lot of steak, chicken, prawns. I like doing halloumi, which is a type of cheese, and burgers. And so that type of cooking I really enjoy on the barbecue with. And it's important that you either have a beer or a nice glass of red wine to enjoy the cooking with.
A glass of beer always works for me.
Yeah.
So besides tennis, we know you enjoy playing golf. In fact, you recently stated that you're much more of a golf addict, and one is more likely to find you on the golf course rather than a tennis court. Are you getting to play at all currently?
Yes, I mean, it's been a bit busy the last month with tennis getting back to our screens, but in lockdown, when the golf courses were opened up, then I managed to play probably 2 or 3 times a week. I'm a member of a course called Sunningdale, which is just outside London, which has 2 beautiful courses. So I really enjoy my golf, and yeah, when the weather is good, then I get out there and play as much as I can.
Wow. So I also wanted to take this opportunity to bring up the exceptional work undertaken by the Tim Henman Foundation in helping vulnerable young people in their aspirations. Please tell our viewers a little bit more about your foundation and the work it is doing.
Yeah, so I've actually had my foundation for nearly 20 years, but in the last probably 6 years, I've definitely refocused and relaunched the foundation to support education and health in disadvantaged young people. So when I was 11, I went to a school in London to give me more opportunity to play tennis, which was called Reed School in Cobham. And this school was founded by Andrew Reed about 203 years ago. And when it was first set up, it was an orphanage. And it has also always supported young children from difficult backgrounds. And when I was there, I was very lucky to receive a scholarship. And I always felt very fortunate that my education was paid for. And so when I started to do better with my tennis, I always looked back at that and thought, I would like to help. I was given an opportunity, and I want to help other people who are less fortunate. So education has always been an important part of the foundation. But again, our health is our most important thing. And we have a health partner, which is called Naomi House, and they support children with life-threatening or life-shortening diseases or illnesses. And so those are the 2 elements that we support. Our main fundraiser is we have a pro-am, charity pro-am tennis tournament the Wednesday before Wimbledon. So I get 10 of the players who are about to play in the championships to partner 10 amateurs who pay to play in the tournament. We play on grass at the Hurlingham Club, and then we have a champagne reception, an auction, and a dinner to raise money. So it's been fantastic, and hopefully we can continue to build it.
Yeah. So health and education makes a lot of sense. All right. So let me just move on to the next set of audience questions. Let me take a couple now. So Divya Prakash writes, why do you love the movie Wedding Crashers so much?
It's my favorite film. It's Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, and I just laugh. I laugh so much that I remember when the film came out. I was in Australia for the Australian Open, and on the way back on the aeroplane, I watched it 3 times in a row on the plane. And my coach, my old coach, Paul Annacone, and then my fitness trainer and physio was a South African guy called Johan de Beer. They loved the film as well. And so whenever we would talk or whenever we send text messages, we're always using quotes from Wedding Crashers. So it's always been my favorite film.
All right, so that's going to be my weekend watch. Honestly, I've not watched the movie, but well, 3 times in one plane ride, I'm sure it must be something special. All right, the next question from Virendra: do you have plans to start a tennis learning academy?
Not really. And the reason why, for me if I were to be involved in an academy, I really feel like to do it properly, I have to commit a lot of time. And you know, my time now is spread in lots of different areas. So first and foremost, my family, my wife and my children. I love the fact that, you know, I'm not traveling 35 weeks of the year as I used to when I was playing tennis. So I'm here and I can be very much involved in school life, in family life, in home life. I'm involved at Wimbledon. I'm on the tournament committee there, so helping, you know, run the club and the championships, which has been fantastic learning curve and something that I really enjoy. I still work with HSBC, Jaguar and Rolex. Those are the 3 main brands that I've been associated with for a long time. So I feel, and then I still do my television work with BBC and Prime Video. So I have a very good balance, and then I still want to play some golf as well. So I feel like I have a very good balance, but if I were to do, you know, the academy type thing, it's very difficult to combine everything. So I still help and support the LTA, the Lawn Tennis Association. I sit on the performance advisory group to help direct the professional players and help the LTA. So I'll always be involved in the game, but no plans for an academy.
Interesting. Okay, so now let's move to the rapid fire section.
Nitin, can I just say one thing?
Sure, absolutely.
I didn't know whether it was going to come up, but I wanted to just say one experience. I've been to India many times, but India played a very, very important part in my development as a professional player, because I played in 1994 a satellite circuit in India, which is 4 weeks of tournaments. The first 3 weeks is where there's probably 80, 90, 100 players. They're all trying to get into the Masters the 4th week, which is the top 24 players. And I came to Mumbai very late in December 93 or beginning of 94 in January. We played the first tournament in Mumbai on hard courts, and I won the tournament. And that was the first professional tournament I ever won. And then the second week, we flew straight from Mumbai to Ahmedabad. And in Ahmedabad, we played the surface we played on was cow dung. And I'm sure your Indian friends will know the surface. From the playing point of view, we always said there were no diving volleys that week. And then I won that tournament. And that was the second tournament. So I won the 2 tournaments. The third week, we went to Delhi. And we played at what is now the National Tennis Centre. And that tournament was on clay. And I won that tournament as well. So I won the first 3 weeks. So it was such a big breakthrough. And then the 4th week, the Masters was in Chandigarh. And we played on grass there. And I got through to the semi-finals, but I was so exhausted by all the tennis I played. It was the only match that I won. But my ranking went from sort of mid 400s, 450 to 220 in the world. And I always look back at that as one of the most important turning points in my career. So that's where India has always been very special for me.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing that with us. I had no clue, and I will look up Ahmedabad and that court that you alluded to. Cow dung, is it?
Cow dung, yeah.
Okay, so the rapid fire section now. I shall serve them fast, hopefully manage a high first serve percentage, and I'm expecting a sharp return from you. All right, so are you ready?
I am.
All right, so round one. Player that you idolized growing up.
Bjorn Borg.
One food dish you wouldn't want to give up.
Sushi.
Ah. If you could trade lives with someone else for a day, who would it be?
Oh, that's a slow answer. I am going to say, oh, there's so many to choose from. The Queen.
Okay, nice. If not a tennis player, what would you be?
The golfer.
Of course. Strangest fan moment.
Strangest fan moment. Elton John sending me champagne after I lost at Wimbledon in 2001.
That's actually a memorable fan moment, I would say. Yeah, but amazing. Elton John, Sir Elton John.
Sir Elton John.
Nice. So that was fantastic. The questions seem to be flowing in. I'll try and take as many as possible after this segment. So let's move on to the second round of the rapid fire. Tim, I will give you a word and you have to tell us the name of the player that comes to mind immediately.
Okay.
Right? Naturally gifted.
Federer.
Passionate.
Nadal.
Toughest opponent.
Federer.
Temperamental.
Murray.
Great sense of humor.
Lodra.
Wow.
You remember him?
So
French,
wow. So
player.
I didn't recall, but okay. So those were actually exciting couple of rounds, and I think thank you so much, Tim, for being a sport. Let me move on to the next set of questions that we've got from the audience, or let me actually take that on.
Can I tell you another funny story from India?
Sure, absolutely.
It was that first week, and when we had arrived in Mumbai and we had gone out, we had been out on one of the cricket fields, and we were traveling with a group of us, and there were maybe 4 of us, and we had gone in the evening to do our fitness training, to do some running, some sprints, and then some core exercises, bit of stretching. And when we were walking back to our hotel, there was a man with an elephant walking down the street. And I mean, I don't think you see that often in India, but you don't see it anywhere else that I've ever been. And so we made a gesture to the man with the elephant, and we offered him some money, and then we rode the elephant back to the hotel. So it's one of the most amazing moments that my tennis has given me the opportunity. That is right up there. It's one I'll never forget.
I can imagine. So a true Maharaja. So that's Maharaja style, as we call it in India, a real king.
Yeah.
So I'm just told by the team that I am, we're sort of out of time. So I guess I will not be able to take on the next set of questions. So with that, I'm afraid we are going to have to close, but it was an absolute privilege, Tim, to speak with you. It was just fantastic. And for me, like I said, as an avid tennis player, this is something that I'll definitely cherish. Any comments before we sign off?
No, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with you. My relationship with HSBC goes back to when I played my first match on centre court in 1996. I was then sponsored by Midland Bank, and that became part of HSBC. But when I go back to my first tournaments that I ever played when I was 7. They were with the sponge ball, and they were sponsored by Midland Bank, and our national championships under 12, under 14, under 16, under 18 were all part of Midland Bank, and that's obviously now part of HSBC. So I feel very fortunate that I've had the support of HSBC for such a long time. So I'm so happy to be able to support in these difficult times, but also India really does have such a special place in my heart. I've been there. I must have visited at least 15 to 20 times. They have such a great history and tradition in tennis, and I'm sure I'll be back many more times in the future, but I really look forward to it. So thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we hope so too. We'll really look forward to that. So a big thank you to all our viewers for watching us. Do tune in for the next edition of Star Struck next Friday at 5 p.m. Till then, stay home, stay safe. Bye.
Thank you.